The discovery. The high-energy physics laboratory at the Global Quantum Research Institute was unusually quiet that evening. Dr. Maya Sharma stood alone among the humming machines, her slender fingers adjusting the calibration on the gravitational wave detector. 6 months had passed since the accident that had taken her brother Vikram, a brilliant theoretical physicist whose work on quantum gravity had been poised to revolutionize the field before a climbing accident in the Himalayas had stolen his life. Maya had promised herself she would complete his work, a promise that had become her obsession. Quantum Gravitational Coherence Test 37, she spoke softly into her recorder. Adjusting harmonic oscillator to match predicted frequency pattern from Vikram's equations. Outside Earth's atmosphere, invisible to human detection systems, the Xilarian observation vessel maintained its surveillance position. The crystalline ship, constructed from materials unknown to human science, contained monitoring equipment capable of detecting the subtlest quantum fluctuations across an entire planetary surface. Commander Zalek stood before the primary observation array, his 4 eyes narrowed in concentration as he reviewed the baseline readings from the human research facility. This species continues to approach quantum understanding at an accelerated rate, he noted to Science Director Nilara, who hovered nearby, her translucent appendages gently pulsing with bioluminescent light, though they remain centuries from true gravitational manipulation. Their emotional approach to science remains inefficient, Nilara responded, her voice resonating through the chamber. They waste considerable resources on individual pursuits driven by personal attachment rather than collective optimization. The Xilarians have been monitoring Earth for over 3 centuries, cataloging humanity's scientific progress with clinical detachment. Their own civilization had evolved beyond emotions 50,000 years ago, engineering their biology to maximize cognitive efficiency and collaborative function. The concept of emotional investment in scientific pursuit was considered a primitive evolutionary stage. Back in the laboratory, Maya activated the quantum resonance field, a complex web of energies designed to detect the theoretical particles her brother had predicted, gravitons that might exhibit unexpected properties in certain quantum states. As the field initialized, she removed a small photograph from her pocket. Vikram smiling atop a mountain peak, his last expedition before the fatal one. A wave of grief washed over her, so powerful it made her hands tremble. "I'm going to finish what you started," she whispered to the photograph. "I promise." The machines around her continued their precise measurements, but something unexpected began to happen. The quantum field readings started to fluctuate. At first, Maya assumed it was equipment error, but the pattern was too consistent, too structured. The gravitational sensors showed localized distortions in the field, impossible readings that suggested the fundamental force of gravity was somehow responding to something. On the Xilarian vessel, alarms suddenly blared. The monitoring equipment registered unprecedented quantum fluctuations emanating from the human laboratory. Commander Zalek moved swiftly to the primary console, his normally composed features showing rare agitation. "Impossible," he stated, reviewing the data. "The human facility is generating quantum gravity signatures that should be beyond their technological capabilities." Science Director Nilara joined him, her appendages flaring with intensified light. The Xilarian equivalent of alarm. "These aren't technological signatures. They're organic in origin." In the laboratory, Maya was now witnessing something that defied all physical laws she knew. Small objects, pens, paper clips, even her coffee mug, began to hover, suspended in defiance of Earth's gravitational pull. More shockingly, she could feel a strange connection to these objects, as if gravity itself had become an extension of her consciousness. "What's happening?" she whispered, reaching out toward a floating pen. When she focused her attention on the pen, it moved precisely as she willed it, floating across the room with controlled motion. The realization struck her with stunning clarity. She wasn't just observing gravitational anomalies, she was creating them. Panic seized her initially, but it quickly transformed into scientific curiosity. She began to experiment, discovering that her emotional state seemed directly connected to the strength and precision of the gravitational effects. When she thought of her brother, focused on her grief and determination, the effects intensified. When she calmed herself, they diminished. On the Xilarian vessel, Commander Zelix and Science Director Nilara watched in stunned silence as their monitoring equipment recorded what should have been impossible: a human being manipulating gravitational fields through what appeared to be sheer conscious will. "This violates our understanding of consciousness-matter interaction," Nilara stated, her voice carrying the closest approximation of shock that her engineered biology allowed. "No species should be able to directly influence fundamental forces without technological mediation. Analyze the human subject," Zelix ordered, and the ship's sensors focused more intensely on Maya Sharma. "Subject is experiencing high emotional arousal," the analysis system reported. "Neurological scans indicate unusual activity in the limbic system coinciding with quantum field manipulation." "Impossible," Nilara repeated. "Emotional states cannot directly influence quantum gravitational fields. This contradicts the primary physical laws." Yet the evidence was irrefutable. A human, through some unprecedented connection between emotional state and quantum reality, was manipulating gravity itself. Over the next several weeks, Maya carefully documented her abilities, recruiting the help of her closest colleague, Dr. Terence Chen, a quantum theorist who overcame his initial skepticism after witnessing a demonstration where Maya lifted a 200-pound equipment cabinet with nothing but her focused will. "This isn't just groundbreaking," Terence said, reviewing the data. "This is a fundamental shift in our understanding of consciousness and physics. You're not just observing quantum states, you're influencing them directly." Together, they established that Maya's abilities weren't magic, but a previously undiscovered property of human consciousness, specifically the deep emotional connection she had formed with her brother's theoretical work. Somehow, her grief had activated neural pathways that could directly interface with gravitational fields. "I think Vikram was right all along," Maya explained as they reviewed brain scans taken during her gravitational manipulations. "His theory suggested that consciousness itself might be a quantum phenomenon that interacts with gravity in ways we don't understand. He just never realized a human mind could directly manipulate that interaction." On the Xilarian vessel, emergency councils were being held. The observation mission had become a crisis management operation. The implications of human gravitational manipulation threatened the very foundations of Xilarian scientific understanding. "If humans can manipulate fundamental forces through emotional states," High Scientist Kelver argued during the council, "then our entire approach to physics may be fundamentally flawed. Our ancestors' decision to engineer emotions out of our species may have cost us access to a deeper level of universal interaction." "This is precisely why the human must be contained," Commander Zelix countered. "One human has discovered this ability by accident. If others learn to harness it, they could advance centuries within decades, destabilizing the galactic order." The Council's decision was unanimous. The human with gravity manipulation abilities represented too significant a discovery to be left uncontrolled. A direct intervention was authorized, the first in the Xilarian centuries of Earth observation. Meanwhile, Maya's abilities continued to develop. What had begun as small, localized effects had grown more powerful and precise. She could now create gravitational fields strong enough to lift several tons, could manipulate the directional pull of gravity within defined spaces, and had even begun experimenting with gravitational lenses that could bend light. "I can feel it getting stronger," she told Terence during a controlled experiment. "It's like learning a language. The more I practice, the more fluent I become." What neither of them realized was that Maya wasn't the only human developing these abilities. Across the globe, a small number of individuals, all of whom had experienced profound emotional trauma and possessed deep scientific understanding, were beginning to notice strange occurrences around them. Objects moving contrary to gravity. Unexplained feelings of connection to the physical world. The awakening had begun. As Maya prepared for her first public demonstration of her abilities to a select group of international scientists, the Xelarian intervention team finalized their containment plan. Neither side realized they were on a collision course that would forever change both species' understanding of the universe. The confrontation. The Global Quantum Research Institute's main auditorium buzzed with anticipation. 50 of the world's leading physicists had gathered for what the cryptic invitation had described only as a fundamental paradigm shift in gravitational physics. Security was tight. Maya and Terence had insisted on thorough screening of all attendees and equipment. "Are you ready for this?" Terence asked as they prepared backstage. "Once you demonstrate this ability publicly, nothing will ever be the same, for physics or for you." Maya nodded, clutching the small photograph of her brother. "Vikram deserved to be here for this moment, but I think he somehow is. His theories are what made this possible." The presentation began with Terence explaining the theoretical foundation, a combination of Vikram Sharma's unpublished work on quantum gravity and new discoveries about the nature of consciousness. Most of the audience listened with professional skepticism until Maya took the stage. "I know many of you are doubting what Dr. Chen has described," she began. "I would be skeptical too. So rather than ask you to accept theory, I'll demonstrate." With that, Maya closed her eyes, focusing on the emotional connection that had become her key to unlocking gravitational manipulation. The large steel sphere they had placed at the center of the stage, weighing over 500 pounds, began to rise smoothly into the air. Gasps rippled through the audience as the sphere not only hovered but began to orbit Maya in a perfect circle. "This is not a trick," she continued, her voice steady despite the considerable mental effort. "What you're witnessing is direct conscious manipulation of gravitational fields, and I believe this ability isn't unique to me. It's a potential within many humans, perhaps all humans, waiting to be awakened." In orbit, the Xelarian intervention team monitored the demonstration with growing alarm. Their stealth shuttle, already entering Earth's atmosphere, accelerated its approach. "The human is broadcasting her ability," Commander Salix noted with concern. "Containment protocols must be implemented immediately before knowledge spreads." The 5-member intervention team, equipped with the most advanced Xelarian technology, prepared for what they believed would be a simple extraction. Their species had intervened on developing worlds before, always with surgical precision that left the target population unaware of their presence. Back in the auditorium, the demonstration continued. Maya was now showing fine control, causing small objects to orbit each other in complex patterns, creating localized areas where gravity was nullified completely, and even demonstrating how she could create gravitational walls that prevented movement in specific directions. "The key," she explained to the astounded scientists, "appears to be the connection between emotional states and quantum field manipulation. Strong emotions, particularly those tied to deep personal meaning, seem to create neural patterns that can directly interface with gravitational fields." The presentation was interrupted by a blinding flash of light, where previously empty air had existed at the back of the auditorium. 5 Xelarians now stood, their crystalline exoskeletons refracting light in mesmerizing patterns, their 4 eyes scanning the room with alien intensity. Panic erupted immediately. Scientists scrambled from their seats, rushing toward the exits. Security personnel drew weapons but seemed uncertain whether to fire at these clearly non-human entities. Maya, however, remained calm. Something about these beings triggered not fear but recognition in her, as if on some fundamental level, she had been expecting them. "You're not from Earth," she stated simply, addressing the tallest of the aliens. "We are Xelarian," the being replied, its voice somehow perfectly understandable despite the alien vocal structures. "And you represent a violation of universal constants that cannot be permitted to spread." With a swift gesture, the lead Xelarian activated a device that projected a containment field around Maya, a shimmering energetic bubble designed to neutralize all outgoing quantum effects and render her abilities useless. At least that was the intention. What happened instead astonished even the Accelerians. The containment field wavered, then collapsed entirely as Maya's gravitational manipulation overpowered the advanced alien technology. More surprising still, she didn't appear to be fighting the field so much as understanding it, adapting to it, communicating with it on a quantum level. "Your technology is impressive," Maya said, her voice calm despite the extraordinary circumstances. "But it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how consciousness interfaces with quantum reality." The Accelerians attempted another containment approach, more powerful than the first. This too collapsed under Maya's growing understanding of her own abilities. The confrontation had accelerated her learning, pushing her to discoveries that might otherwise have taken months or years. Terrence, who had remained on stage despite the chaos, was frantically documenting everything on his tablet. "Maya, I'm getting readings unlike anything we've seen before. Your quantum signature is changing, adapting." Across the city, strange reports began flooding emergency services. Objects floating inexplicably. Localized gravitational anomalies affecting buildings and vehicles. Elsewhere around the globe, similar reports emerge, all from locations where individuals with scientific backgrounds and experiences of profound emotional trauma suddenly found themselves awakening to abilities they hadn't known they possessed. The Accelerian commander, realizing their containment strategy had failed, switched to diplomatic approach. "Human, you do not understand the cosmic implications of what you are doing. Gravitational manipulation through consciousness violates the fundamental separations that maintain universal stability." Maya stepped forward, unafraid. "No, I don't think that's correct. Your species engineered emotions out of your development, didn't you? You chose pure logic, technological advancement without the inefficiency of emotional experience." The alien's reaction confirmed her intuition. Their crystalline forms briefly pulsed with colors that suggested surprise or perhaps dismay. "How could you know this?" the Accelerian leader demanded. "Because I can feel it," Maya replied. "When you attempted to contain me, I could sense the fundamental disconnect in your approach to quantum reality. You understand the mechanics perfectly but missed the essential connection. Consciousness isn't separate from quantum fields, it's an integral part of them." The standoff continued as more scientists entered the auditorium, drawn back by curiosity despite the potential danger. Among them was Dr. Elise Okafor, a neurophysicist who had been experiencing strange phenomena in her own laboratory. Phenomena she had attributed to equipment malfunction until this moment. As Elise approached, Maya sensed something familiar, a quantum signature similar to her own. Their eyes met, and understanding passed between them wordlessly. Elise too had awakened to gravitational manipulation abilities. The Accelerians detected the second human's quantum signature immediately, further compounding their crisis. Their monitoring systems now reported similar signatures emerging worldwide. Dozens, then hundreds of humans beginning to manifest the same ability. "This is unprecedented," the science director communicated to the intervention team. "The ability is spreading through some form of quantum resonance. Containment is no longer possible." The lead Accelerian lowered its containment device, recognizing the futility of the current approach. "Human, Dr. Maya Sharma, we have monitored your species for centuries, cataloging your scientific progress. What you have discovered was believed impossible by our most advanced theories." "Perhaps," Maya suggested, "that's because your theories developed without the integration of emotional experience into scientific understanding. You engineered that capacity out of yourselves millennia ago, didn't you?" The Accelerian's 4 eyes blinked in what might have been acknowledgement. "Our ancestors determined that emotions created inefficiency in cognitive processes and collective decision-making. But they also connect us to the universe in ways pure logic cannot," Maya countered. "What's happening here isn't just about manipulating gravity. It's about understanding that consciousness itself is a fundamental force, intertwined with the physical forces you've studied so clinically." By now, Elise had joined Maya on the stage, and together they demonstrated a synchronized gravitational effect, creating a complex, pulsing gravitational field that surrounded the entire auditorium. Other scientists in the room, watching in fascination, began to feel strange sensations themselves, the first whispers of awakening abilities. The Xilarian commander recognized that the situation had evolved beyond their original mission parameters. These humans weren't just manipulating gravity. They were revealing a fundamental aspect of universal physics that the Xilarians, for all their advanced technology, had missed entirely. Our council must reconsider our approach, the commander finally stated. This discovery changes everything we believed about consciousness and physical law. In the days that followed, an unprecedented event occurred. The first acknowledged contact between humanity and an extraterrestrial species. Rather than the military confrontation many had feared, it became a summit of scientific exchange. The Xilarians, humbled by the revelation that their engineered emotional efficiency had cost them access to a deeper understanding of physics, offered their advanced technological knowledge in exchange for human insight into the consciousness quantum connection. Maya Sharma, now recognized globally as the pioneer of gravitational consciousness theory, led the human delegation. Her brother's theories, combined with her personal discovery, had opened a new chapter in both human development and interspecies understanding. "We stand at the beginning of a new era," she told the assembled human and Xilarian scientists. "Not just of technological advancement, but a fundamental reconception of our place in the universe. Consciousness isn't just an observer of physical reality. It's an active participant in it." The Xilarians, their crystalline forms reflecting the lights of the conference chamber, responded with their own perspective. "For 50 millennia, we believed we had optimized our development by removing emotional variables. We now recognize this as perhaps our greatest evolutionary miscalculation." As the summit concluded, research centers were established worldwide to study and develop the newly discovered human ability. The number of awakened individuals grew daily, each bringing unique perspectives to gravitational manipulation based on their own emotional experiences and scientific backgrounds. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for consciousness to recognize its true potential, not as passive observer, but as active participant in the fundamental forces that shaped reality itself. Humanity, with all its emotional complexity and scientific curiosity, had stumbled upon a truth that more advanced civilizations had engineered themselves to miss. In her private moments, Maya still spoke to her brother's photograph, but now with a sense of completion rather than loss. "You were right all along, Vikram," she would say. "Consciousness doesn't just observe the universe, it speaks with it. And now we're finally learning to listen."